Hi, I'm Reverend Cynthia Williams, and I serve as Superintendent of the River Valley District. Bishop Michael Curry in Chapter 6 of Love is the Way writes that it is a struggle to live in the way of love. All human progress and change for the good, whether individual or social, is a result of struggle, often long and laborious. The Minnesota Annual Conference is seeking to live into our aspirational vision of being rooted in Jesus, grounded in Wesleyan theology, inclusive of all, and engaged in the work of justice and reconciliation. This is a bold vision that draws us closer to what it means to be part of the beloved community. When we consider where we are and the task that is before us, it is daunting. Bishop Curry writes, "Our task is to do our task, not to do every task needed for progress." Here's a confession. I tend to spend more time than is helpful, wondering, questioning if I am doing enough. There is that voice of the inner critic that whispers, especially when I play the comparison game, you should, you ought to be doing more. And so here's another confession. I am on a journey of letting go of shame, self-condemnation, and devaluing my gifts, choosing daily to trust that my few fish and loaves make a difference and is pleasing to God. This is a spiritual practice. It is a discipline. And this practice of trust opens me to self-compassion and self-grace. It opens me to trust that what God has placed within me, in the way God has fashioned, formed, and created me, it is more than sufficient. Some years ago, I received this card in the mail from a woman I had recently met in a coaching group. The art by Susan Rosak, and the caption reads, "Present yourself as though you were a gift." This card and this art, it speaks deeply to me. I love that the image of this woman with arms stretched wide has these overly large feet. The path that she walks on is only broad and clear beneath these feet, and it becomes more narrow and subtle before her. And if you notice, there's an open box behind her. I am learning, and I continue to learn over and over again, that to walk in the way of love is indeed to allow ourselves to be broken open, to come out of our boxes, and with what is within, present ourselves as gift. As a young girl growing up in Memphis, when I was 10 years old, my parents achieved a small part of the American dream and purchased our first home. As a result of that move, I transferred to a new school. It was a neighborhood that was experiencing what we call white flight. As Black people moved in, white people quickly moved out. It was a disorienting time for all. The kids in my entire new 5th grade class were African American, with the exception of one little white girl named Joni. And one day our teacher assigned us to work in pairs and to self-select our partners. As children scrambled for partners, everyone called out names, but no one chose to pair with Joni. And I looked at her and I could see her discomfort. Something within my mind and heart was moved with compassion because I knew Joni had been left out because she was different. In what seemed like hours, but was only seconds, my mind ran through what might happen if I chose to stand with her. Would I become a target? Would I bring unnecessary attention to myself? And I looked around the classroom, I glanced over at the student who had selected me, and I looked at Joni and raised my hand and said, I will partner with Joni. As an adult, when I reflect on this experience, it could be that I was taking upon myself Joni's white fragility. Yet I know that at the age of 10, it was simply a response of caring, one child to another. It was a response of seeing something and knowing someone needed to do something. And I was well aware that that same year, Dr. Martin Luther King had been assassinated 6 miles from our home. His dream of a beloved community where little Black children and little white children would join hands together was yet vivid in my imagination. 7 years prior to our move, as part of the Supreme Court's decision to outlaw school segregation, a couple of parents made the courageous decision to allow their 2 little black girls to be the first to integrate Springdale Elementary. These parents received hate mail with no return address. I didn't know that at the time, but what I did know, even as a child, I knew of the unjust, ostracizing, racialized, line-dividing treatment experienced by my community. And I knew that my mother and Sunday school teachers continued to teach us to do not to others as they have done unto you. In that moment, I believe it was my task to stand for Joni. This childhood experience is a small thing from an adult perspective, but it was huge for my childhood self. I am reminded of the words of Mother Teresa. Not all of us can do great things, but we can each do small things with great love. On this journey of love, what has God placed within you? They are not just for you. They are to be shared with others as offerings of love. Your gifts, your talents, your voice, your heart, and grace are the very things God desires you share, whether in the place you are planted or the new places God is calling. Whether leading large initiatives, speaking out against injustice, or intentionally inviting a stranger to share and join you at the table, your offering is more than enough to make a contribution on the way of love. Amen, and God bless you.